Hello YouTube, this is Beedrew1, gamer tag Beedrew93, and this is
Chris62, your gaming gentleman.
And together we are the Welsh Crisp. Now today we're very, very pleased to announce that we have, well not announce, to introduce our guest, the official We Game Here's Microbox of X. Would you like to say something, Microbox?
Hey guys, this is Microbox of X, thanks for having me. Chuffed to be invited, thanks very much.
Now he's going. Say bye to Microbox, guys.
Yeah, nice to see you. I'm going to go and watch it now.
No, we're chuffed to have you, mate. We're really chuffed to have you. We've asked Microbox to give us a few topics, like I told you in the announcement. One of them is zombies. We do have a few, but Chris will get to them. Basically, I'd like to do a shout-out to Alman Smith, an Xbox god, Kenny Thomas 1983. A big thank you to Kenny Thomas 1983. He's been a follower to us since the beginning. Daily Gamer. I'd like to do a shout out to him as well. And lastly, I'd like to just make a point of saying that if you have missed any of our episodes, or if you don't catch all of this episode, it will be available on the official WeGameHere.com website whenever you please, on demand. Think of it as iPlayer, but with my face on it. Anything?
Yes, I just want to say I have shout-outs as well. Omar Mills, Panther Death X on YouTube. He is one funny guy. I mean, he's using Connect, and he's like the only reason sort of Connect's alive because of that guy. He's so funny and puts so much effort into his YouTube channels. Check him out, Panther Death X. Also, a shout-out to Andrew Sweeney. He just did 2 videos using Xbox DVR, and you know, I just want to give him a helping hand. He'll be thrilled to bits, over the moon, that I announced him on this Welsh and Chris podcast. And I'm going to say this, that I am admin for EXG, Extreme Xbox Gamers, and I'm proud to announce we have our Extreme Xbox Gamers YouTube channel for all of you, so please come and have a look. And our goal is to make sure we deliver the same experience on the community, but on YouTube, and we cannot wait. So thanks very much. Over to you.
Fantastic, Chris. Awesome, and I really wish you the best of luck with the EXG, because it is going to be brilliant. Thank you, Danny Kyle, for the opportunity, and Chris will do a fantastic job, no doubt. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And so, yeah, we'll take it over to Chris, our headset wearing, tea drinking, breathing, pizza eating, all spicy pizza farting, talking, smiling, teleprompter over there. Do you want to kick off this topic?
This is a topic that really comes to mind because now we had Microbox on the show, and it's always been Xbox, Pro Xbox. And basically gamers, we're all gamers. Like I'm being the youngest gamer and gaming throughout the years, and we're just going to talk about the evolution of games for the past 30 years. So what do we think?
Are we specifically talking Xbox now? That's a question.
Everything. Covering everything.
That's a broad statement. So, okay then, what was your first ever proper experience when you played games, Microbox?
My first experience, I go way back. I mean, I started gaming in probably 1977, 78. That's how far I go back. So, I mean, you're looking at... that's a long time ago. Shush, no comments about my age. No, I mean... I started with the Atari 2600, which basically was a little black unit with some paddles with it, and it was like wood effect. I mean, and you were looking at black and white graphics on the early ones. I mean, basically you're looking at a little white square popping around the screen, and you had 2 white sort of lengths on either side of the screen just to hit the bloody thing back and forth, and that was games, you know. But in those days, it was all about the gameplay. It wasn't about graphics and things like that. It was all about gameplay. So It's changed a lot over the years. I mean, in the years I've been gaming, it's changed a hell of a lot. Um, Probably more so in the last 10 years, but when you look at the Xbox 360 now, that's performed. But yeah, no, going back a long, long way, long way. Systems have come a lot. Well, they have come a long way. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we started with cartridge, and then we sort of went to. I mean, we went to cassette for a long time. Sort of cartridge was sort of put away a little bit, but then it seemed to go back to cartridge again. So it is strange how gaming goes. There's been so many systems over the last 30 years, and then when you look at the Xbox 360, we had it for 8 years. And I mean, I was looking at the figures earlier, and in the years I've been gaming, I've owned 20 different gaming platforms. So,
Whoa.
yeah, exactly. Now, if you put that into context, I started gaming in 76, 77, something like that. And then that time I've owned 20 game systems, but for 8 years of that, it was the Xbox 360. So it puts it into context, doesn't it? When people are complaining that the Xbox 360 isn't very well supported now because of the Xbox One. But when you think about it, for a console to be around for that amount of time, it's unprecedented. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable, really, when you look at the numbers of machines that have been out.
Yeah, well, it just goes to a different level in technology, isn't it? Like, before, you'd be whatever you bought, however long you had it, it wouldn't change, would it? Now it's different. There's patch updates, especially the Xbox One. Speaking of Xbox, every month we're having some different thing just to keep it ticking over. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like the gaming industry is bigger than the film industry now.
No,
I've read somewhere.
So much so.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got... Sorry, I mean...
Yes, just a lot. It's radically changed. Gaming industry, how it is. It used to be all about the films, and now gaming, people have better experiences gaming than they do watching a movie or film.
Yeah, I mean, you've got games like Call of Duty now, which are turning over more money than the movies, and it's just ridiculous how things have changed. I mean, I remember. I mean, in the Commodore 64 days, I mean, you'd be there loading a game for 10 minutes, but a game would only cost you £2, and you go to the market every Saturday morning and buy a new game for £1.99, and that's just the way it was then.
Like, question, because you said like how that isn't an age dig. But I mean, like, from then, that moment, that first moment you held that little flicky-dicky controller with the two lines on the screen, to now, like, the level of graphics and gameplay we are seeing nowadays. Is it just a blur? Do you remember every step of the way?
That's a good question. Do you know what? It does only seem like yesterday. And I still find myself going back to the old systems and playing on them and enjoying them just as much because it was such a short period of time. But when I look back on things and start reminiscing, I start thinking, God, I want to get that system back again. And I do start going on a little jaunt on eBay trying to find some of these systems that I've owned in the past. But it has gone very quickly. I mean, look how quickly the Xbox 360's gone. I mean, 8 years. That's a long time, really. But it just seems to have flown by. It really has just flown by.
Makes you feel quite lucky, to be honest, when you know you've invested in a system that lasts quite a while. Like we've been told, the Xbox is going to last at least a decade.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trouble. You see, a lot of people have come into gaming now. There's a lot of young gaming fans that have come into it now, and they don't really understand the past generations of gaming systems. And they see that the Xbox One has come out and the 360 isn't getting quite the support it did, and they feel that they've been hard done by. But if you were there at the start, I mean, even with the original Xbox, I think that system was only available for 2 years, and as soon as the Xbox 360 dropped, the Xbox One was pretty much put to a side. Albeit, though, I mean, Xbox Live was supported on that system for about 2-3 years after the 360 came out. But game-wise, it got sort of pitted out quite quickly. And with old systems, I mean, when the say the Mega Drives and the Ataris and the Amiga, when all those consoles and machines, those game machines come out, when the new one came out, the old ones were pretty much dropped instantly. There was no support for them at all.
So I'm not even surprised because it's not even like back then everything was easily accessible, like with internet and things like that, was it? Like obviously it didn't have like Hive, like a network, or anything like that. So it was just onto the next machine, dump the one that you previously had, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there was no internet at all. You didn't have any of that. The nearest you got to that sort of thing was magazines. You get a cassette tape or a CD on a magazine. That was your world into gaming in those days.
I just want to say, my first gaming system was an original Xbox, and I remember getting that game because it came with a game that I really liked was Destroy All Humans on that game, the original one,
Yeah.
and also Halo. Right, Halo 2 was the flagship to sell Xbox originals, and it was an amazing thing because it was my first ever console, and I remember playing, with my parent, and you're just playing on the original Xbox, trying to beat a level. You didn't care about other players. To me, I was quite young. I never went on the internet. I was solely with the single player, and it was just a fantastic time. And it wasn't until I got 360 I explored this entire new world with internet.
Yeah, we did because of course we all we had was even. I mean, I've always been a competitive gamer, even in the days of no internet. So I mean, I was submitting scores to magazines through the post. They used to have the monthly high scores on the biggest games of that month, and I used to submit my scores in all the time and send them through the post because you didn't have. I mean, these days it's all electronic, isn't it? You can all see it on live and on the different networks. But in those days, you didn't have any of it. You just take little photographs with your Kodak Instant of the screen.
That's amazing. That what you just said is so cool. Like, honestly, like I just can't imagine it. I mean, we rely on technology in all things so much. If somebody said to me tomorrow, Xbox Live doesn't exist, to compete you have to like post your Xbox Live, your game scores. I'd be lost for words. That's incredible.
It's a massive change we saw from massive leap in gaming. It's ridiculous how the detail in games and gameplay is so realistic. It's phenomenal.
It's moved a long way, but I think there is, in my opinion, I think there is too much of an emphasis on graphics these days. I think there's an emphasis on graphics that doesn't need to be there. I mean, one of my favourite games of all time was on the Commodore 64, and it was a game called Ghostbusters. And you basically just moved a Ghostbuster symbol around a map to catch ghosts, and then you had a little bit where you just drove a little. I mean, the graphics were terrible, but it was just such good fun to play. I still play it now. Don't tell anybody, but I still play it now.
Eject!
Yeah. We just lost all our viewers.
For episode 5. Thank you for watching. No, that's incredible. But it's a point that needs to be made, and I'm glad we have Microbox here because I'm sure a lot of you have a great following, as you do know this already, and it just helps. I think it's good to pass the word on because, like you just said, classic games like legendary games like Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, Banjo-Kazooie, like all have one thing in common: great gameplay and just the graphics isn't great, isn't it? The mediocre graphics, to say the least, but the gameplay is relentless and so consistent, and that's what gaming is all about. And over the years, it's always been that way until sort of now, where we've hit a bit where people are just too interested in graphics.
Yeah, they expect too much. That's what I think. I think and now we've gone to this point where people expect their games to have amazing graphics. People expect all these amazing stuff to happen on games, and in reality, it's not. I mean, I've enjoyed Limbo, which is a 2D side-scroller game. I don't need a AAA expensive Call of Duty action-packed game. You know, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
completely agree, and that goes back to what I said before. I mean, that game is just completely black and white. With some aspects of grey, but you know what I mean. But it's just such a great, it's such a great game. It's so addictive, and there's some really good puzzles, and it looks nice. Although it's very basic, it's got some very, very nice quirky animations. It's a great game.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, and I did a review on that game, and it was a game that there was no motive. You never knew why you were running in that game, and until the very last second where the credits just rolled, and it was like, huh? It was just a marvelous game for a cheap price. You know,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, some of the games I've played over the years, I mean, some of the better games, I mean, like even the ones with great graphics, like I've never been bothered. I mean, like it's like I said in my what did I say about what video? Oh, I was my Order 1886 video. I basically go to say that like Halo 2 Anniversary, such a fun game. I could have been walking around as a stick man for all I cared. But there's people out there that are so hell bent on 1080p, and it's like, look at the Order 86 as a game. End of the day, the developers only did what people were kind of requesting, and now they're being shot in the foot. All they did was concentrate on graphics. Like, it's a catch-22. You can't win.
Yeah, exactly. And I said it stated in my video that they concentrated too much on the textures and the graphics and not on the gameplay. I mean, like if you have the gameplay, then put graphics onto it. Don't start with graphics first and then I'll add some gameplay to make it a game. It's just it's nonsense.
Yeah, you've got to have a
What do you
great
think?
you've got to have a great game engine in there to start off with, and then build on the foundations. And I think they're doing it the wrong way around. That's the problem.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't put it better myself. That's simply the reason why gaming today is such a hit and miss industry. Even though it's the biggest industry, you never really know what to expect. Like, even Halo 5, I can't wait for Halo 5, but how do I know until it comes out? Because at the end of the day, that hasn't been the greatest track record for this generation so far. Like, how do I know that it's going to be a great gameplay game? I know it's probably going to look fantastic, but is that all they're worried about?
Yeah, unfortunately, it does seem to be that way, and I think it's because of the demand from some gamers for it. They see that, and that seems to be certainly what seems to be pushing people to buy the PlayStation 4. I mean, it's not, in my opinion, it hasn't got as many AAA titles on that system. I don't think there are as big AAA titles on that system anyway as the Xbox One, or the 360 for that matter. The same with the PS3, but people are buying the PlayStation 4 because of what they're seeing on paper is that it's a more powerful console. That is why it's selling so well.
Yeah.
It can't be on the power of the games because it hasn't had any real big games come out on the system yet. Not console sellers. Not in my opinion, anyway. Nowhere near have they come close to a console seller.
Yeah, I see that that forum about the reasons why people chose PS4 over Xbox One, PC, or Xbox One, and that was because of the resolution. People chose the PS4 because of the resolution and the amount of games they had, and people chose the Xbox One out of brand loyalty and their choice of exclusive games.
Mm. I mean, to me, their best exclusive AAA that they've had on the PS4 at the moment is The Last of Us, and that, in my opinion, isn't a reason to buy the console because I have it on the PS3. You know, there's no reason for me to buy a PS4 at the moment. There's just nothing on that system exclusive-wise that makes me want to say I've got to get that system. You know, it might be better on paper. But the PlayStation 3 was a better console on paper than the Xbox 360, and in my opinion, the Xbox 360 came out on top every time graphically. And you know, it's all very well having the hardware inside the console, but if you haven't got the guys that know how to program for that console and know how to develop for that console, then you're stuck. And the thing with the Xbox One, the thing with Xbox 360, they've got a great team of hardware engineers, and they work. Microsoft is a software company. If these guys don't know how to utilize the best out of hardware, then nobody's going to know how to do it, because they are top of the game. Whether Sony fans want to admit to it, they are top of their game. And Microsoft designers are not stupid enough to design a console that they don't know how to get the best out of it. And as I say, it might not be the best on paper, but when it comes to the guys actually designing it and developing it, and obviously the machine was DirectX 12 based. They didn't have it ready in time to go into the machine at launch. But what do? Do they bring it out later and let PlayStation 4 get an even bigger margin on sales, or do they bring it out so that the system is at least out there? It's still, even in its launch day state, it was still capable of performing up against the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Or do you wait 12 months and then you've got an even bigger hill to climb? I mean, I think what they've done over the last 12 months has been incredible after the launch that they had.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny you say, Aaron Greenberg said in that interview on the Inner Circle, I can't remember which one from the Tech podcast asked him this, but he basically just said, do you believe that the Xbox was 12 months too early in release? Do you think they should have waited? And he said, no, absolutely not. And this is the Xbox marketing executive talking. He's the one who makes these decisions. And he basically said, no, we shipped it at the right time. And he did agree that the launch wasn't fantastic. At least I'm sure he did. But he did go on to say that, like, from launch to now, we've seen it's a different console. We've evolved everything. And like you said, like, it's been an impressive journey so far for Xbox One.
There was only one thing that screwed up the Xbox One launch. There was only one thing, and that was Don Matrick. Don Matrick screwed up the Xbox One launch. It's as simple as that. The whole emphasizing on TV, if you want to play Xbox 360 games, don't buy the Xbox One, stay with the 360. All of those comments, this whole E3 sort of push for the console was just completely wrong. And they should have stuck with They should have stuck by their guns as well. They should have stuck with the digital side of it. They should have stayed with it and just ignored what Sony were trying to do. Sony completely sort of went against what Microsoft were doing, made Microsoft look stupid. They changed their whole E3 so that they could attack Microsoft for it. And I think Microsoft should have just stuck with the guns and gone with what they initially planned for the system. I think it would have been better for us in the long run. But I think
that changed. History though, because if you look at the history so far, people have always been able to buy and sell games, physical copies, from cartridges to cassettes to discs, you name it. And we hit a point with Xbox One's launch where all of that was non-existent. And I think, yes, I agree they should have stuck to their guns. But secondly, I just think people are afraid of change, because, like you said, with the history of games this far, they've always known physical copies, and now all of a sudden it was digital only. I just think, even though it was a good idea, they were always going to get hate for it, unfortunately, because people can't accept it.
Yeah, and can I just say that, digital is going to be the way forward, I think, for Xbox. That is the future for Xbox. And I think if they do another console, maybe not the next one, but the one after that would definitely be digital only. And I think discs would just sit away. So will movies as well over time, but not now, in about 10 to 15 years' time. I also just want to say about the hardware for 360 as well. That was the same hardware, but in the 6 years it's been around. Yet when it first launched with Call of Duty 2 and some Project Zero, I think it was, or some exclusive titles, they didn't look amazing. But then at the end of 360's launch, we had titles like Halo 4, which looked absolutely amazing. Yet how did we see this massive gap if the hardware's still the same?
Exactly, exactly. The hardware hasn't changed in all those years, but they were still pushing juice out that system. And look at Call of Duty, the last Call of Duty that dropped on the system. Um, you look at GTA 5. I mean, just look at Red Dead Redemption. That game still looks incredible, and that was a few years back now. Red Dead Redemption, an incredible console. And as you say, when you look at Perfect Dark Zero and when you look at Call of Duty 2, those games blew me away when I first bought them. I thought, Jesus, this is really like PC quality. But you look at them now; they're terrible as you know, graphically, compared to sort of GTA 5 and Red Dead and all those games that were coming out. You know, obviously, you're not going to have the same frame rates. You do see some frame rate drops, but I mean, for a system that was that age to still be being pushed by developers, it's incredible.
And to still keep up with its competition as well, which was like a brand new system, like much more newer hardware, like crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing, I mean, going back to what we were saying about digital, I was one of the first people to stand up and say I'm not gonna, I can't stand the fact that they're gonna go all digital, and I'll admit to that. When they first announced it, I was like, no, I don't want to go, because I'm old school. When I buy a game, I like to have the box and the artwork, and it's the same with movies. You know, I like to buy movies. I don't like to download movies, but I found myself more and more buying digital titles now. I've actually turned to the dark side, as it were, and bought more and more digital. Yeah, I know it's terrible, but for the simple reason, because of the great feature that Xbox One has with the game share. I bought today. I pre-ordered Battlefield Hardline, and as I pre-ordered it and I downloaded it on my system, it flagged up on my lad's system, his Xbox One in his bedroom, and he could download it as well. And for that reason, I mean, I'm paying a bit more for the digital copy, but I'm saving myself money in the long term as well, because my son can have that game. I no longer have to buy two copies of the same game.
Yeah,
Buy
definitely.
one copy. And it's the same with all the DLCs. Even my EA Access. I pay £20 a year for EA Access. My son has access to that now as well. He can use it on his Xbox because my account is also logged in on his account on his Xbox as well. He doesn't have to log in, it just sits there. But because that console is set as my home console, everything that I buy, including EA Access, all the DLCs, everything, he gets access to on his account on his Xbox One, and I think that's incredible.
Well, I gotta say, you saying all this to me now, like all this stuff going on, all this new, all like the level that we are at with Xbox Live as the premium network, as Aaron Greenberg said. It's mad when you look at when Xbox, well, not just Xbox Live, but online gaming began. Like the first hands-on experience for you in online gaming, where I can only imagine it's laggy as hell. I mean, I could be completely wrong. So now, we're like, well, everything you just said, you're able to share games digital. And like EA Access, your son is accessing all of your games over like the internet, like bam, like that, sharing like two consoles as if it were one. Like how, like for you, as someone who've seen it all, again, not another age dig. Like what do you have to say in terms of how for you you've just watched it progress?
No, it's just mind blowing. I mean, in the old days, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but in the old days when I had my Commodore 64, I used to be able to copy them from my friends, but I didn't say that officially. But obviously, with consoles and things like that, you couldn't do that sort of thing. You could lend each other games, but you couldn't do anything else. But it was obviously an expensive pastime. But I will say something though. I mean, when you talk about digital games and physical copies, I mean, games haven't really gone up much in price. Since the sort of, I'd say probably the third generations, I suppose, second and third generations. I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, when we were buying the Commodore 64 games and the VIC-20 games, they were like £1.99. But when you started going to CD-based consoles and cartridge-based consoles, they were about £40–50 even then. So gaming hasn't really increased its cost, as it were, you know, for purchasing games. I remember when I purchased my 3DO. I mean, that system cost me 800 quid. That was an expensive games console, and that was what, the early 90s. But the games then were like between 45 and 50 pounds for a CD-based game. And PlayStation 1 games were, when they first launched the PlayStation 1, you were paying 40 pounds for a PlayStation 1 game. And they were at sort of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. People are complaining because the games went up a few pounds to 45 pounds, 50 pounds. But the value, the cost of these games hasn't gone up a lot over the last 15, 20 years. It's quite unbelievable, really, when you think about it.
No, that is mad. I'm quite surprised at that in terms of price. I just always assumed that like we've hit, you know, we're in a bit of the more expensive. You know, I can't remember less than 40 quid, but I would have expected it to be a lot cheaper before, because I used to buy cartridges for Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo and stuff like that, but I can't remember how much they were. But it's mad.
Well, Nintendo 64 games, I remember seeing Banjo and I think one of the Perfect Darks, they were like £60.
Bloody
You know, their cartridges on the Nintendo 64, some of them were really expensive.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that digital is a bit expensive for me, even though there are benefits for having digital. It's easier, such as you said, game share, but I think it's too expensive. If it's £10 off, I would buy it. I still don't feel good when I buy digital purchase. Like when I brought the Xbox One and it came in full, I was like, "Where's the disc? What are you doing? Have you ripped me off?" Because I've never downloaded a game. And I thought, I even said to the guy, "Can I ask, please, what have you given me? This is a piece of paper. Do you think I'm mad or something?" So I asked him, and he said, oh no. He said, "Oh no, there's a Connect in the box. You put that and it scans the code, and then it shows up and downloads it." I said, "You what? What are you on? Some kind of ridiculous?" But I went home and I unpacked the Xbox One and the Kinect, and I did it for the first time, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. A full-price game that I didn't even have to put in a disc in. I was blown away. That was the first ever time at Titanfall it was, and it was yeah,
as well. Crazy.
yeah, and it's absolutely so good.
And obviously, if you've got them on as a digital, I mean, you can change games so quickly. There's none of this disc swapping and all that sort of thing. You can just go from game to game to game to game, and you haven't got to worry about swapping. But I agree with what you're saying, though, Chris. I think the price needs to come down. They are too expensive. If I can go on to Amazon and get a game £15 cheaper, sometimes even £20 cheaper than I can get it on a digital, then, you know, I think there's a problem, because there's no middleman, there's no marketing, there's no sales team involved, there's no storage for any of the stock or anything like that. There's no costs. So they do need to start looking at dropping the price of these games. And I know Phil Spencer has said in the past that they will be looking at it, but that was some time ago, and still we haven't seen any impact.
Yeah.
So
you see, I was tempted to get that zombie game Light for a digital purchase. So, yeah, wasn't quite. Cool.
I was just going to say, like, imagine if they made it digital only in every digital game you buy, like 60 odd quid or more. That'd be devastating. If they went through with just digital copies, and then it was like way more expensive.
I'm still going to buy physical. I still will buy physical games, and it's the same with movies. I will never go to digital movies. I will always buy physical movies. I like to have, I'd like to have a room full of shelves just to store my films on. It's not the same as having it on a hard drive or you know, having it all on your system. It's not the same.
No, it's true. I go to my girlfriend's auntie's house. Lovely house though. It does look quite damp. It depends what you're into. But for me personally, I'm the same. I like to have like a tower of Blu-ray discs. But But yeah, she has Apple TV, and it just, I don't know, it's just this little black box on the top of the telly that has like hundreds upon hundreds of films on it, which is great, so easy and accessible. But a part of me thinks that the room would look so much cooler if it just had shelves full of discs everywhere.
Yeah, I'm the exact same person. I have shelves and bookcases in this one behind me. Exactly, rows and rows of DVDs. It's ridiculous. I'm a big movie fan. What about you? Are you a movie fan?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think we've exhausted the history of gaming, and seeing as we naturally sort of stepped into movies, do you want to kick off the next topic, Chris?
Yeah, French movies. I was just about to say, right. Yeah, I think our next topic is something that I'm very interested in. I'm a massive fan. It's something I can talk to you for ages about, and that is movies. And I hear Microbox is a big fan of movies. So why don't you start first?
Definitely. Would it be quicker if we list what films Bowen's watched first? And then we can talk about the films he's watched. That'll keep us going for 5 minutes.
SpongeBob the movie. That's done, guys. I'll let you two talk.
I was incredibly lucky because my mother was a movie, well, she still is, she's movie mad. So even as a young kid, you know, I remember going to see Star Wars at the cinema. I remember seeing the original Superman at the cinema. All of those great 80s movies, I got taken to the cinema to watch. And I've just grown up with a love of movies. It's just an incredible experience watching a movie. So, I could go on for hours on this subject. You know, I mean, there's so many great actors and movie series that have come out. I mean, the ones that I really, really like are like the Rockies. I think those films are incredible. Rambo's, the Aliens, the Terminators, the Indiana Jones, the Star Wars. I could go on forever. Back to the Futures. They're all great movies, and I think movies for a little bit in the past 10 years, I'd say, lost their way a little bit, and we were losing these great 80s movies that we used to get, and they were sort of going more towards this big blockbuster type thing, but they seem to have got a grip of it now, and they seem to be able to give us these great stories with the special effects these days. It went a bit too far with it was just all special effects for a period, but they seem to be getting to grips with it again now. I mean, obviously with the advent of the Marvel movies and what we've seen from DC as well. I mean, there's just some incredible movies that have come out over the last four years, I'd say, probably since the first Iron Man film. We really saw movies take off again.
Yeah. Well, I just think that the decade is all about sort of, because I'm a big fan of movies, and blockbusters used to get 5 movies for £3, right? 5 new blockbuster movies, and that was absolutely brilliant. We used to go every week, get tons and tons of movies, and that's how I managed to watch all these 1980s classics. And you know, this decade in movies, I've even experienced that there's too many remakes, there's too many reboots and franchises, too heavily done on CGI, which I think practical effects was really good, even though they were cheesy sometimes. They were absolutely brilliant. Like Alien, that was practical effects, no CGI. That was an actual guy in the suit. But now CGI, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, I think it loses it. I mean, a good comparison for this, Chris, right? If you think about it, look at Star Wars and look at The Empire Strikes Back, and then you watch those films now, and they still look good. If you go back now and watch, say, Attack of the Clones, the special effects in that film look terrible. They've dated, they look bad, because he relied too much on CGI. Even when they weren't required, he used CGI for the clone troopers. Why he ever decided to do that, I do not know. And they almost look robotic in the way that they move. And that just goes to show why I think they jumped too much and too quickly into CGI. It wasn't ready. I don't think it was. I don't think it's been ready for a long time. I think it's only really been ready the last year or so. When you look at the Hobbit movies, and when you see it, look, yeah.
Because I'm glad we brought up CGI, but I was just about to say that in my personal opinion, it breaks my heart when I watch The Hobbit, because The Lord of the Rings is my favourite trilogy of all time, and I love the makeup, the choreography, I love everything about it. It's such a great looking film. Yeah, there are bits of CGI, of course, but it doesn't overwhelm the experience. Whereas when you watch The Hobbit, it's like if you put the main Uruk-hai, and compare the main Uruk-hai from the Fellowship of the Ring, which was like back in 2001, I think.
Mm.
And then you compare him, just in makeup, looks really scary, quite actually frightening, especially as a kid growing up watching it. And then you compare that to the the pale orc, sorry, on The Hobbit, which looks fake. It's not at all intimidating, not at all. You don't take it seriously at all. You watch it and think, wow, good film, whatever. But the difference, man, it's like they really dropped the ball, in my opinion, with all the CGI in The Hobbit. If you compare it to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean the dragon's impressive. I was very impressed with the dragon in the Hobbit. Certainly the second film, not the second film. Sorry, the third film. No, it was the second film. I was right the first time. Very, very impressive. But I think the movie industry is too concentrated on CGI and that kind of effect, and I think you need to go back. I'm hoping, and it sounds like that he is doing this, but it sounds like J.J. Abrams is going back to the old school and using as many physical effects as he can, as opposed to CGI, and I hope he does, because the new trilogy of the Star Wars just does not stand up compared to the original trilogy. Special effect wise, they look terrible.
I'm excited about that.
Well, like Chris?
About J.J. Abrams. I'm really excited about J.J. Abrams taking over to do the next Star Wars. That trailer alone showed that he's a massive fan, because every single shot on that 5-second trailer was intelligent, because he put the trailer together, directed with the people who produced the trailers, and each shot made fans more excited and more excited.
Yeah, he's an incredible guy. I mean, when you think of what he did with Star Trek, he's not even a Star Trek fan, and look what he did with Star Trek. And I know a lot of Star Trek fans don't like what he did, but I've been a Trekkie since, well, for as long as I can remember. Again, my family loves Star Trek. I was brought up on it, and I've been watching it since it was, since the repeats of the original TV series. So to see what he did with it and make it something that was popular again, and he did. I mean, Star Trek seemed to disappear. You had the Trekkies still enjoying it, but there wasn't a new audience. There wasn't anything to get a new audience watching it, and he's sort of got a franchise that he really had no interest in, and he's just exploded it.
It was absolutely amazing. Like Star Trek Darkness and the original Star Trek, with the new Spock and recreating it together, it was just brought a new audience into it, and it made it modern.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that hated Star Trek and they love these new films, and for me, if that's the case, then he's done a good job, because it's still fundamentally Star Trek. It's still the same characters, just new stories, but he's put them over in such a way that new people are enjoying them. And I mean, if he can do that with something he doesn't like, what the hell is he going to do with something he grew up with and got him into film in the first place? It's just unbelievable.
Oh, great point, man. I didn't really watch that. I mean, I had watched one of the movies, like one of the older movies, and I did like it. To say I followed it would be wrong. The Star Trek that guy made, the more modern Star Trek, I haven't seen Into Darkness, but I really want to, because I love Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's unbelievable. But that first one was amazing. Even my older brother, these people you talk about, hates Star Trek, can't stand it. He loved that.
The second film is even better. The Into Darkness was a better movie than the first one.
So cool.
Yeah, it is. It's just awesome. And
Yeah,
Benedict Cumberbatch, I mean, those words, "I am Khan," and it's like, Jesus Christ, it's Khan again. Of course, you didn't
yeah.
know that when you watched it
I
the
know.
first time.
Yeah,
You
because it
did
was
the
the
second
remake of Khan, you know.
time. Such a great, great movie. And of course, obviously, we had the sad news yesterday that Leonard
Oh,
Nimoy
yeah.
passed, which was very disappointing because I was really hoping that the rumors were going to be true, that they were going to get the old Kirk and Spock together with
Yeah,
the new
Wyndham
the new
Shatner
movie.
Star Trek. It is a shame. It is really a shame. But he's a legend and will always be a legend. And I'm glad I've seen the Star Trek movies and the experience that I've seen his movies and him as an actor, very funny. And he lived to age at 83.
Yeah, I mean that's a good age in '83. I hope I get to that age.
No, no, you're right. I mean, I hope I could get to a decent age. But my only fear is the having to do everything for me. I don't want to get to that point. But we're going off topic here. um,
Right,
what's
our
he gonna,
next topic.
I,
We're going on to.
I got a
Go
question.
on.
Questions, right? Microbox. What is your favourite older film and your favourite modern film? Choose two and why. Who's your favourite actor slash actress of the older generation and your favourite actor slash actress of the new generation and why? But firstly, you go to old and new film. Favourite.
What would you class as an old film, and what would you class as a new film? The last 10 years?
No, that's, say old. A film that growing up meant a lot to you, and then a film maybe within the last like 5 to 10 years that you like would recommend to anyone is like possibly your favorite film. For me, it'd be Lord of the Rings. Like probably for both, really. I mean, I grew up on Lord of the Rings. They are my favorite trilogies of all time. But then, as for like modern cinema, modern film, I love the Avengers. I love what they're doing with the
Yeah.
Avengers. Like, what about you?
Well, I'd say probably my favourite film from my early years would have to be Ghostbusters,
Oh
without
yeah.
a doubt. Without a doubt. I remember going to the cinema to see it, and I remember just coming out thinking, "Holy shit!" Well, I don't think I felt that. I thought that because I was a bit young then, but you know what I mean. I was gobsmacked by it, and I made sure I got to see it again. Um, Old actor though, oh, it's got to be Stallone. Stallone.
Low.
Nice choice.
And not just because I mean he's done a lot of action films. He's done a lot of mindless action films, but this guy has started off three great series of movies. Without him, we wouldn't have had Rambo, we wouldn't have had Rocky, and we wouldn't have had the Expendables. And people make him out to be some dumb idiot actor in America, but he's probably one of the smartest guys over there. When you look how much how much passion and heart he puts into his characters. He's a great actor. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else playing Rocky in the first Rocky film, and the dialogue he comes out with. He comes out with such great speeches in his
Oh,
movies, and every single one is like, you could put it on your tombstone. They're just such great sort of moments in movies. They really are.
He'll be a legend.
go on, go on, Chris. Sorry.
Right, I would say my favourite. I don't know. Oh, I've got so many. I like Nicolas Cage, Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all the big stars. One of my favourite films is by Nicolas Cage, and that is called Knowing. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Put the bunny back in the. On it.
Have you ever seen that?
What? The Knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic film. I thought the twist at the end was so clever with the aliens and stuff. I didn't expect that.
I thought that was. Yeah. Recently, I watched this film called, The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Microbox. You seen The Shining, Microbox?
I have, yes. Which version are we talking? Are we talking the original?
The original. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson.
Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson. Great
He
film.
was absolutely crazy. I mean, he does that acting, and then there's like no one there to talk to. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean it's very. I mean I could go on all day about my favorite actors and favorite films. Honestly, I mean all of the actors you've mentioned, I love all of them. Harrison Ford, Nicolas Cage, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I grew up with all of those guys, um, in their movies. I mean, the 80s was the time of the big action movies. The Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Nick Cage, all of those great actors. Bruce Willis, obviously the Die Hard series are just
oh,
incredible movies.
hard.
Um,
Love it.
I mean, I could spend a whole podcast just talking about movies. Honestly, it, but I mean, we're talking about modern movies. I mean, I agree with Bowen. I mean, the Avengers. What Marvel has done with what Disney has done with the Marvel universe in movies is just incredible. Um, and we've had such great comic book movies coming into movies. I mean, it's just been incredible the last
Yeah.
5, 6 years, hasn't it? And
Yeah.
DC as well. I mean, with the Batman movies, and we've got more to come. We've got the new Batman movie coming out. Man of Steel was an incredible movie, um, and I know people were complaining about it, saying it was, oh, you wouldn't have all that destruction and things. This is Superman fighting
Yeah.
three people of similar power in a city, and they're complaining that there's too much destruction. There won't be a bloody city left.
How can you complain about too much disruption? That doesn't make sense.
I don't understand it. I mean, I think the problem is now the comic book movie has become very popular, and there's a lot of people getting onto comic book movies, but they don't know anything about the comic books, and I think that's the biggest problem. Um, I mean, if we talk about comic book movies, we could talk about Spider-Man. Now,
Mm.
I think the last two movies that come out are the closest they've ever got to getting in the actual comic book Spider-Man onto the
Yeah,
big screen.
yeah. I was saying that to someone yesterday. I think was it you, Chris? Chris
Yes,
was,
I disagree. I totally disagree.
yeah, because Chris was saying that he didn't understand why Spider-Man made his own web, why they changed it. Because he said that the original trilogy it was like genetic or whatever. Um, but like that's how they did it in the comics.
That's
Like really intelligent. He made his own web.
Yeah, he created his own webbing, um, as it is in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, one and the new one that's just gone. They were to the comic book, but the trouble is, a lot of people that got into Spider-Man because of the Tobey Maguire movies didn't really understand the comic books, didn't know the background of the comic books,
Yeah,
and
that's
and I've had, I mean, Anchorman V disagrees with me on this one. We've had conversations about this. He prefers the Tobey Maguire movies. But
so
to
do I.
me, I mean, the stories haven't been perfect in the new films. I didn't like the lizard in the first film. I thought they could have done something a lot better there. But as Spider-Man as a character and Peter Parker as a character, Andrew Garfield in the new movies have got it pretty much how it was in the comic books. Believe me, when I say this, Spider-Man didn't spend his entire time in the comic books moping over Kirsten Dunst and crying all the time. I can tell you that now.
I was going to say the new Spider-Man is quirky. He's got banter. He's a joker. He doesn't take anything seriously like Peter Parker. Whereas Tobey Maguire was, I don't know. I found him to be a bit too emotional.
Yeah.
But I think it was done as well. I liked how they made Spider-Man darker when this. No offense, but this is. I would say it's aimed at children, even though the comic is meant to be.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way the comic books. I suppose it's the way the comic books are. Unfortunately, there's a massive generation like myself that grew up with them, and even though they're based for children, really, I mean, we still read the damn thing, so we still enjoy them. But yeah, no, I just feel that the Sam Raimi movies just didn't capture the true essence of Spider-Man. And I can understand the people that grew up with those films and they've got a soft spot for them. But I mean, every time I think of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series, I see him doing that jazz bit in that thing, and I just say, "Oh my God, this is cringe-worthy." it reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman and Robin with his fluffy bunny slippers on, going, "You're not putting me in the cooler." It's just
Yeah,
terrible.
worst movie Arnold ever did. That's fun.
I tell you what, I've said this for many years. If Batman and Robin was Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie, he'd have never acted again in Hollywood.
Kindergarten Cop.
I actually like that film.
Doesn't have a clue what Kindergarten Cop is.
But one film though I would, but before we move on, one film though I would say my favourite film of all time, and Bowen, you've got to watch this film, is Leon.
Oh no, you said Leon. I will watch that film.
You've got to watch that film. One of my favourite films of all time.
Care to give a synopsis for anyone who might not know what that is?
Oh, I don't want to give too much away, but it's about an Italian hitman that moves to America. That's all I'm going to say. And he's got a pot plant.
You've ruined it already.
So you've seen Leon, Chris?
No, I haven't. I've actually never heard of that.
You've never seen it either?
First movie I've never heard of.
You've got to watch it.
Well, actually, our next topic is something that I want to really stress on: the TV shows, right? Because
Okay.
I'm a massive fan, right? This is a totally different sort of story but I'm a massive fan of X-Files. I know that's the world's most geekiest TV in history, but I'm a humongous fan and watched every series.
It was a very popular show. It was massive.
I only watched.
What
I tell you what, if you
TV?
TV show, you have to watch Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Have any of you watched that series? It's unbelievable. You've got blood and
It's
What's
not
that?
just one series though. What I don't like about it is like it's that cheesy American stuff. I don't like cheesy American.
Well, the actors are Australian.
Well, Australian American, say, both got an A in it.
Oh,
Actor Andrew Whitefield unfortunately passed away after season. He was Welsh.
most of the TV series I watch are American. I watch very little British television. Most of the stuff I watch is from the US.
No, I'd say the same. I mean, recently I've been watching Luther on BBC iPlayer, which, by the way, is absolutely unbelievably good. My favourite series of all time is Supernatural. I love it. It really hits home as well, because it's about two brothers who will just die for each other, and the story's so good. I don't know, have either of you ever watched Supernatural?
No, I haven't caught that one.
Have you?
I saw that TV series that really is inspirational, and I pledge everyone to watch it, is the series Lost. You ever see that?
Yeah, so now Lost was one that I started watching. I watched the first season, but it just started to go a little bit over my head, and we gave up. And I was actually talking to the wife about it the other day, and we were discussing that we stopped, and perhaps we should actually go back and watch that TV series. Because it was supposed to, it had a huge following, didn't it? But
It's who's doing Star Wars films.
yeah, I mean it's definitely one I think we're going to revisit. Definitely.
I'd like to watch it.
Perhaps we should all get together and have a Lost
fantastic.
night.
And a lot. I see what you did there. Anyway, yeah, Lost is absolutely amazing, and apparently that TV show marked the future of like TV shows because that was just so good. I think it was like the best TV show of the decade, something like
Yeah,
that.
it wouldn't surprise me. It was the one that most people talked about, wasn't it? What I would
TV show of the decade.
What I would say though, I mean, if you're a huge fan of X-Files, did you ever watch Fringe?
I've
Oh
watched
no, no.
series
See,
that.
that if you liked X-Files, you'd love Fringe. That was such a good show, and we're watching that again at the moment. We're on series 3 again. I'm watching through them all again.
I haven't watched it all the way through, but I've seen plenty of episodes. My mum loves it. So if I'm ever over there for some dinner or something, I'll just sit and watch an episode with her now and again. But really, unbelievably good. So clever. Or a guy like paused time, put like a pen on like a dustbin, walked away, and that pen fell off the dustbin, created a chain reaction where like loads of people died, like got hit by a bus, and one person swerved the bike, and that's weird. It's really cool. And then they figured out it was the guy with the pen. So just little things, really clever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's an incredible show. Incredible show. That there's been some really. Don't think it's one to sit down and eat your dinner whilst you're watching it though, because most of the time you're seeing somebody's brains being pulled out their skull or something gross like
That's what I like. This is an 18+ podcast. We're talking about Saw next.
Saw.
Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
One of my favourite horror films.
I couldn't. The second one, man, I was sweating when I watched that film. It was the second one with the pit of needles, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. When she pushed in, she was pushed in, and then oh man.
Jeez,
Oh,
I don't do needles anyway, so that scene was horrendous. I was sweating.
Did you go to the cinema to watch that?
No, thank God. I refused to see Saw at the cinema. I'd be one of those being carried out.
The stretcher just
Carried out with holy water.
I want to play games.
Have either of you ever seen the program The Walking Dead?
Yes, who hasn't?
Oh
Great
my
show.
God, that's a ludicrous, but a brilliant segue to our next topic.
I was hoping you'd say that, Chris. That's why I brought The Walking Dead into this. Well, we might as well take to the next topic then, should we?
Oh yeah, well, our next topic is, oh yeah, that's right, zombies. We three people absolutely love zombies. We're massive fans. If we were in the zombie apocalypse, we would all know what to do. We're big fans of The Walking Dead and zombie games, and we're excited to talk about it.
Definitely. Well, that's the thing. We had, when we did our zombies podcast, unfortunately, Microbox was quite upset with us for not having it on the show. So we have agreed that we will give him the same treatment in terms of The Walking Dead and zombies topics. So that's why I'm trying to find my notes regarding. Oh, brilliant! Here we are. To begin, Microbox, for the viewers who want to hear your take on the zombie apocalypse, what is your favourite zombie movie?
My favourite zombie movie would be the original Day of the Dead.
Ooh, nice. I think I've seen like the remake, assuming that we're on about the. Yeah, but what was the original like?
The original Day of the Dead, that was released in 1985, so it's going back a long time. But it was the one where they were in what was a nuclear bunker trying to work on a cure, and they would collect zombies and keep them down below, and they basically had this scientist. It was a bit like Frankenstein, I suppose you could put it, but he was just basically trying to find a cure for to stop them being man-eaters, I suppose. But I'll tell you what, I mean, that film was made in 1985, and I still think to this day the effects hold up as some of the best I've seen in any zombie movie. I mean, there's a bit where a guy backs up against the door and falls through the door, and there's a pack of zombies behind him, and you see him systematically just getting ripped apart. You see the fingers going into his neck, into his stomach, into his chest, and then you just see the whole body just fall apart as he's saying, "Choke on him." and you just see them walking off with his legs down the corridor, and it just looks so realistic. I mean, you're talking what? How many years ago is that? That's nearly 30 years ago. It was 30 years this year, and it still stands up as, to me, one of the most. And again, no CGI. It was physical effects. And
That's the best.
it still stands up to this day, and it was a great story as well.
Yeah.
The George A. Romero zombie movies, I still think, are the best ones. I think nowadays the problem that they've got is The Walking Dead has gone back to the old school zombie, and that's how it should be. But when you've got films like 28 Days Later, and they started to go to these fast-running zombies, and I think that to me, I don't like that sort of.
Oh, I love that. That's a film. That's one of my favourite zombie.
They're great films, don't get me wrong, but I don't see it as I don't class it as a zombie movie. I see it as some kind of virus or along that lines. I don't
Yeah.
class it as a full-blown zombie flick. To me, zombies are like they are in like the the first Resident Evil games, not the new ones. The Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, and the Day of the Dead, the Dawn of the Dead, all the George A. Romero zombie flicks. So I'm not a big fan of these running type, like you saw in the Brad Pitt movie a few years back.
Weird, yeah. That
Yeah,
was just a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean it was a great film, but I didn't class it as a true zombie film. It was more of a virus that affected people and made them act in quite an odd manner. But
I agree, though. I prefer, like, even though my favourite film, for different reasons, the average zombie film is I Am Legend, I just like the concept of one man surviving the zombie apocalypse on his own. Taking the zombies out of the equation, I like the character development that Will Smith portrayed. But no, I do agree. I do prefer the zombies on The Walking Dead. I like them slow. It makes it more interesting. Which brings me to the next question. Why do you think people, us weirdos, us bloodthirsty lunatics that you call friends, why do you like zombies so much? What is it about zombies? Why do you like zombies?
that's a good question.
A few questions here, Microbox. They're all coming your way, but
It might be because I look intelligent when I'm compared to them.
I look like Einstein compared to us.
I don't know. I mean, zombie films were a massive thing in the 80s, and of course it was the era I grew up and I love horror movies anyway. So my favourite genre of horror movie was the zombie movie. I don't know. It's just something that's always appealed to me. And there's, obviously in the early the 90s as well, with the advent of Resident Evil in '96 on the PlayStation, there's always been something there to sort of keep the zombie genre alive, hasn't there? There's always been something to keep it going. So it's always been there. The love of zombies has never gone away, has it really? I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, near where I live, they do something called a zombie experience, and it's so popular. And
What
basically,
does that include?
well, it's like a paintballing. It's like paintballing, but you'll basically do it at night in a derelict office building that's completely blacked out, and all you've got is it's like a paintball gun, but there's soft pellets. Can't remember what they call them now. But the whole building is just full of zombies, and all you have is a torch and limited ammo in this gun, and you have to basically survive to get out. And it's such a huge success. It's just booked solid. People love it. People are screaming like little girls when they go there.
Have you ever done it?
I've not done it yet, but I keep being talked into it. I just think I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack if I
Scream
do
like a
it.
little brother.
I think I.
Done it.
What? Sorry.
I think my friend, a colleague in a company I used to work for, he done the zombie experience. He said it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you're in a pitch black area. I mean, they do it in old office buildings, old hospitals. They kit them out proper. You know, they look really, really good. And I could just imagine me screaming like a big girl and just running out the door, to be honest with you. But
With that question, if we love zombies, for you, do you think that like everyone, the population, like me and Chris discussed this in our zombies podcast, as you might remember, and we sort of that the reason why we love zombies so much is because it's very plausible. Like Chris said, this is a direct quote from Chris now. It's one of the more realistic sort of horrors. You know, like you have viruses out all over the world. Like what's to say it couldn't happen hypothetically. But do you think that at least maybe why you like zombies?
I definitely think that there are things out there that could give us something along those lines. Definitely. I think I mean, it's plausible, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that's where I mean, people have been cannibals. They've been cannibals for centuries, haven't they? People have eaten people for whatever reason or not. So, if it came to something like making you completely deranged and everybody was like that, then yeah, I can see something like that definitely happening. It's a strange one. You try not to think about these things happening, don't you?
To happen though.
Looking at some of the people that live around me, I wouldn't want to fucking eat them, I'll tell you.
It's probably good that you hide your face because they could be watching you.
I'd be the first vegetarian zombie.
There was a vegetarian zombie in Day of the Dead one there.
There's been a dead everything. Did I just like Osama bin Laden come back as a zombie, and the footballer come back as a zombie? There's like Goal of the Dead or something.
Yeah.
Serious Goal.
Have any of you seen the films Dead Snow?
I've seen one.
Hitler coming.
They recently brought out a sequel.
I think I've seen the first. It was a while ago now, but I have seen it. Yeah.
The one with the Germans in it.
It's like our subtitles.
Yes, yeah, that's right. What's the sequel?
The trenches, isn't it?
What's the second one? I think it's called Dead Snow Red versus Dead or something like that. I think that's what it's called. If you can find that, watch that. That is a good film.
No, I will. I love the first one, so I'll definitely watch that.
Yeah. See, I like the comedy walking, like the Dead zombies, like comedy zombies, like Shaun of the Dead, and the Red Snow.
Yeah.
Dead Snow, yeah.
Red versus Dead was very, very funny, and of course we had a few years back. We had Cockneys versus Zombies. I don't know if any of you saw that one. I think that was Richard Pryor's last movie. Very funny.
Have you next question in the end?
He's gone off.
What's that? Sorry. I didn't hear the question. You went completely silent on my screen. Then I thought.
Oh God, are you scared? Are you ready for this?
I am, yes.
Okay, what would your survival tactic be? Now, just imagine you come downstairs, you've put some bread in the toaster, you've made your coffee, you've sat down, you're about to tuck into your butter on toast, BBC News on the TV, and on the news, the guy there sitting there like with his paper, he's basically giving you a 24-hour warning that zombies are coming. What do you do?
Oh, that's a good question, that one. What would I do? Well, I'd watch the Star Wars trilogy quick.
That's the best forever. That's so good.
I'd also get a few rounds on Call of Duty, and then I'd possibly fill the car up with some petrol.
Please mode just to have a feel of what it would be like.
I'd get the missus and the kids to do all the packing whilst I was watching Star Wars. It's got to be an island, isn't it? You've got to get to an island.
What island?
Australia.
Has Ted taught you anything, Microbox? You need to have toilet paper and canned goods.
I've seen Castaway. I can live off crabs.
Are you telling us something? Microbox, it's a child-friendly show. We can't be telling the audience this. Yeah. It would be to go to Australia.
Yeah. If I'm gonna go, I might as well go in the sun.
Go and start. Yeah.
Fair dues. Okay then. All right. Okay.
Actually, thinking about it, I'd probably smear myself in Marmite because you either love it or hate it.
Oh man, that's hard.
My Marmite neither. I think you're on to something. I better
Why hasn't The Walking Dead done that yet? I don't know why.
I better get on the phone. Give him a little heads up on the Marmite thing.
Marmite theory.
Yeah.
We called it here on the Welsh podcast.
What would be your weapon of choice?
My weapon of choice? Des O'Connor records.
What's that?
Des O'Connor records.
What? What's that?
I keep forgetting you're too young to remember Des O'Connor.
I bet Chris knows who he is, or what it is, or who she is, what breed of animal it is, whatever.
Des O'Connor record could be used as like a sort of a chemical weapon, I think. A lot of people go, "Who's Des O'Connor?" You're all going to be going on YouTube later looking at Des O'Connor.
Yeah, look at it now.
Is it accessible? You've got 20 years. Can you get this Des whatever it is?
Des O'Connor.
Des O'Connor, that's it. Mine's quite simple.
I got to say, before you go on next question, I think we should go on some questions for our viewers watching. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I had one more question, which is basically, what would you do if you got bit?
What would I do if what? Sorry?
What would you do if you got bit? On like in your forearm.
Oh, got bit.
What do you think he said?
Every time he said it on my end, it went quiet when it got to the punchline at the end. I thought, what's he saying?
You have to make up the joke yourself.
It depends where if I got bit on the, well, I don't know, because wherever you get bit, you got to cut off, ain't you? Oh dear. Well, if it was my arm or my leg, I'd chop it off. If I was bit on the penis, I'd kill myself.
They are killing me. Oh, it's a family member.
You can always put Marmite on it.
I do anyway.
What if your wife got it?
Oh man.
Hello?
Hello. God, you're scaring me with that. I have literally two more questions for you. What would you do if a family member got bit, like your wife, for example?
Go hungry.
It took 5 minutes to understand that one.
No, I couldn't hear it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, I was going to ask you what type of zombie would you prefer, but you already said you prefer the slow zombie, so I won't bother asking you that. Lastly, would you trust strangers?
Would I trust? It depends on what sweets they had.
One of
They what? Sorry.
jelly babies.
Jelly babies. I'm quite partial to jelly babies. Yeah, I'd probably go with them.
Do successfully zombie. Zombie. You've had the same.
Right. I've got to answer some of the community questions for you, Microbox.
Oh right.
These.
Right. First, we have a question from Kenny. Hi Kenny, thanks for watching as you always do. I'm gonna look forward to the day when you don't actually watch Kenny. So that's the question. When he doesn't actually watch the channel, that's the day he quit. Right. So yeah. Right. So his question comes and he says, "What is your best game on 360 and the best game on the One?"
Best game on PC and best game on the One. Well, I haven't PC gamed for quite some time, but I would definitely say my favourite game of all time on the PC was Half-Life. Without a doubt. Loved that game. For the Xbox One, oh man, there was so many good games. Oh god, that's a tough one because there's some really good games on that system. The one I'm playing the most of at the moment, I would probably say the Halo Master Chief Collection.
Thanks very much, Kenny, for your question.
Cheers, Kenny. Thank you very much.
Also,
as always.
So we have our own questions we would like to ask you, Microbox. Our first question is a collective question from me and Bowen. Is what made you press that button to make account on YouTube?
What made me press the button?
To make your account on YouTube. What pushed you over the edge of the cliff?
Well, I wanted to do it for a long time, but I never really had the equipment to do it, so I never got around to doing it. So I think it was the Xbox One that really made me push that button because it was the first Upload Studio that actually gave me the ability to record the gameplay and to do the voiceover all on the system. So if it wasn't for the Xbox One and Upload Studio, I wouldn't be here, to be honest. I wouldn't.
Could you, second question, did you expect to be where you are now? The community you have, the support, We Game here, Microbox and Facebook, you have about, how many members is it now?
On the group?
Yeah.
There's about 430 on Microbox.
Did you ever fix that?
No. I mean, when I started, I honestly thought I was going to be lucky to get 5 subscribers, and I thought 3 of them would probably be my kids taking the piss, to be honest. So, no, I didn't, honestly not. I saw that other YouTubers had groups, and I was getting a small group of followers, Kenny being one of them right from the off. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go, I'll start my own group, and it's just gone from there. It's just massive. I mean, I never expected it to go as big as it's gone. No way did I expect that.
Yeah.
And I've got a great group of, I don't call them supporters, I see them as a part of anybody in Microbox. I just see as part of the channel, to be honest. So yeah, it's weird. I never expected to be where I am now. No way. Not a chance. It's just gone mad.
You always say gamer that to everyone else. It's like the man behind the mask. Like you are, you are respected in the YouTube community. Like I wouldn't have done YouTube if it weren't for you. And it's just, it's crazy.
It is weird. I mean, I had people messaging me saying, I mean, I only the other day I had a message from a great supporter, Grady, and he was just saying it's just incredible what you've done and the respect that you've got, and you get very little negativity from people watching your channel, and it's getting messages like that, and I do get a lot of messages from people just saying that they love the channel and they love what I do, and I just find it really. I don't see myself any different to anybody else that does YouTube. I don't see myself as any better or any bigger than you two. We're all in this together. We're all a big Xbox community, and we all support it, or we should all support each other. So I don't see myself any different to you. Kenny, who does his channel now. There's so many great YouTubers out there, and I mean, you just got to support the community. But I mean, the support that I've got over the last, I mean, I've only been doing this for 8 months. It's just, it's mad. I still have trouble getting my head around it, to be honest. And I've had such great support. I mean, the guys at We Game here sort of took me in, and they've been pretty much supporting me since I started. People like Gibmeister, Darian, King Dre, all of the guys over there. All been supportive, Anchorman from the start, and like I said at the start when you asked the question, I never expected to be anywhere where I am now. I expected 20 at a push after about 2 years. So
I just want to say big thank you. I know Bowen's was going to say something, but I just want to say a massive thank you for me, because you asked Microbox in the chat, and his exact words, I think, were, I need a bit of help on YouTube. Does anyone know if they can make a banner or provide some help? And I reached out to Bowen and I said, yeah, I'll help make a banner. Yeah, I'll just do it. The truth and why I made a banner was to actually make him as a subscriber. That was the truth. I'll do you better if you subscribe, because I'll do some hard work for one subscriber, and so I did it, and then he subs, and then I always wanted to do the gaming channel and be part of what Microbox started up and do the exact same, and I always wanted to do it, and now I have the opportunity with the new Xbox, and with the help of Bowen, and Bowen and me are like left hand, right hand. It's been a blast, and we recently did the podcast series, and with special guest Microbox X, it has just taken off, skyrocketed, and I think Bowen will agree that it's the best decision he's ever made. I know it's the best decision I've ever made.
Oh, definitely. I just can't get over it. I've only been, like Microbox said, he's been doing it 8 months. I've been doing it for a month now. And so far, I didn't think I'd be doing this. I mean, and I'm not even talking about subscribers. I'm on about, I'm like 70 videos in counting. I mean, they just without even noticing. Episode 5 of the Welsh Crisp. We're doing our own podcast. If you told me that I'd be doing YouTube and podcasts, and I knew that the show, I never thought I'd be doing it. And like you said, partnered up, me and Chris pretty much started at the same time. It's been such an incredible journey. So I can only imagine how bad it is for you, Microbox, 8 months in with the following and you've had since the beginning.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you two are like YouTube's Art and Deck, isn't you? I mean, it's like you're gonna be on Celebrity, get me out of here in a few years' time, probably bloody presenting it.
Eject.
Eject. I would say I think it's time to close the podcast soon, but I think just from me in that Microbox, you have been an absolutely amazing special guest for our first one, and if it carries on, you'll be always remembered as our first special guest.
I've enjoyed it. I mean, like I said at the start, this was my first ever podcast. I've been sort of avoiding them like the plague. I mean, if you'd just seen me at the start, about an hour before this started, I was shitting bricks. There's no edit button on this, is there? There's no edit button.
No, it's pleasing, man. I'd like to say, I know Chris probably wants to say something as well, but I just like to say a big thank you because it goes way beyond this. I mean, like this podcast, everything wouldn't be possible without you, and that's why it's been such a huge privilege, huge honour to actually have you as a guest on our podcast and our first guest, and for it to be the first experience for you. It's pretty special, I think, and it's just amazing. And I value you as a good friend, and you helping me with my channel. Just get down to it, get the hearing talking to you. I bet it's been an experience for some of the viewers as well if they're watching this. It's kind of nice to like, get to know the man behind the M.
Yeah, never know what he looks like. Never know.
When we're gonna see your face, we don't know, but that'll be an interesting day. But no, honestly, man, thank you so much. Podcast. It means a.
No, I've really enjoyed it, guys. I really have, and I've got the bug now. You ever want me back on again? You only have to ask. And I don't see myself as a guest. I'm just one of you guys. I've just come on to your podcast to talk to you guys. So I don't see myself as a guest. We're friends. So.
Totally. Well, I think technically. Guest on our podcast, but this is no different to what we do any other Halo night.
Just a lot cleaner.
Just live.
Live and a lot cleaner.
Right. I think we are gonna end it soon, but I think we were gonna say something about our next podcast, weren't we?
Yeah. This time next week we'll make an announcement within the week. Our next podcast episode 6, is going to be regarding graphics. We're going to have a whole podcast on graphics and everything there is to possibly talk about graphics in terms of the importance, how unimportant it is. You can probably imagine just from a few points made in this podcast alone. That'll be the next topic. We'll do an announcement when it is. Thank you. This is Beedrew1111, Gamertire Beedrew93. Our guest, Microbox of X. Thank you very much. And Chris, do you want to end it?
Yeah, my name's Christopher Chris 62, and it has been. This was episode 5 of the Welsh Chris podcast with Beedrew111 and our special guest, Microbox of X. And also to end it, please check our new Extreme Xbox Gamers YouTube channel. Thanks so much who was watching, and it was an absolute pleasure. See you next time.